Have you ever wondered why some people, just by walking into a room, instantly attract attention and affection from everyone around them? They don't have to say much, they don't have to be flashy or showy. They just show up and people are naturally drawn to them. What's the secret? And can you do the same? The good news is that there is a very ancient tactic originating from the Stoics that can help you become someone everyone likes. Sounds strange, right? Why Stoicism? Isn't Stoicism about controlling your emotions, living a moderate life, and not caring too much about other people's judgment? Exactly. And that's the key. Let's dig a little deeper. What makes us like someone? Is it because they're always friendly, or because they give you gifts, or simply because they say exactly what you want to hear? Sure, those things can make you feel temporarily attracted to someone, but to truly make someone like you, it needs to come from a much more solid foundation. Stoic philosophy reminds us that the most important thing in any relationship is inner calm and confidence. You might be thinking, what does that have to do with making someone love me? It's this calmness that creates an irresistible magnetism. When you're not driven by your emotions, not trying to please everyone, and not getting caught up in a spiral of anxiety, you become a trustworthy person. And when others sense that you're not dependent on their approval, they naturally feel drawn to you. Have you ever felt like people don't care about you when you try too hard to please them? Conversely, have you ever felt like people are drawn to you when you're simply being yourself, not worrying too much about impressing? That's the power of knowing yourself. But it doesn't stop there. Stoicism also teaches us something else important: putting attention on others without asking for anything in return. Do you know one of the things that everyone wants in any relationship? It's the feeling of being heard and understood. When you truly listen to others without judging or interrupting, you create a safe space for them, and this makes them feel valued. Interestingly, the more you focus on others without asking for attention in return, the closer and more loving they will feel to you. So how can you apply this to your everyday life? Think about the last time you were in a conversation. Were you really listening to the other person, or were you waiting to tell your story? Sometimes, just being quiet and listening to their story is enough to create a strong connection. Don't worry if you're not a good conversationalist or don't know how to make them love you. The truth is, you don't have to change yourself. You just need to make a few adjustments to how you interact with others. Let them see your calmness, confidence, and ability to listen. Finally, the most important thing to remember when using this Stoic tactic is, don't try to make others love you. It may sound counterintuitive, but the truth is that when you let go of expectations and simply be yourself, you'll find that others will naturally be drawn to you. Not because you've done anything special, but because you're yourself, calm, confident, and not dependent on other people's judgment. So, are you ready to apply the Stoic tactic? You will find that when you stop trying to please everyone, you will actually attract the right people into your life. And eventually, they will love you. Not because you tried, but because you are you. Do you want to be a magnet without having to try too hard? The secret is Stoic independence, and it has nothing to do with being a loner on a mountaintop. Sounds weird, right? But actually, Stoic independence is not just about doing everything yourself or living alone without needing anyone else. It's not like in those movies where the main character disappears into the deep woods and becomes a superhero. No, Stoicism is much deeper than that. It is emotional, mental, and spiritual autonomy when you know that everything that matters in life, happiness, self-worth, peace, all come from within you, not from anyone else. So what makes Stoicism the key to attracting others? It's simple. When you stop looking to others to validate you, stop relying on their compliments or nods of approval to feel valued, you create a natural magnetism. Imagine yourself as a light that glows from within, without needing to beckon, without needing to blink constantly to attract attention, yet people are drawn to you. Why? Because they sense your confidence and composure, and that's very attractive. Have you ever seen someone who walks into a room without trying to impress anyone, yet still makes people take notice? It's because they're not obsessed with impressing or seeking approval. They don't need to show off or be overly charming. That's what Stoic independence is all about. It doesn't scream, "I don't need anyone." Instead, whisper, "I'm fine with myself, and I don't need to prove it to anyone." Now you might be thinking, if I don't try to keep them close, won't they just leave? This is a fear many people have. But trust me, the opposite is true. When you stop constantly seeking attention or validation from others, you don't drive them away. On the contrary, your calmness and self-control will draw them to you like a magnet. Think about it. Between someone who is always around you, constantly checking in, texting, even seeming overly enthusiastic at times, and someone who is completely comfortable with their life, confident and in no rush to please anyone, who will you be drawn to? The latter, of course. That's the power of Stoic independence. The truth is, when you stop desperately seeking someone's attention, you start presenting yourself as someone who doesn't rely on others for happiness. And people will love you for it. We often confuse showing affection with being clingy. But Stoic independence doesn't mean you don't care about others. It just means you don't need them to feel happy or valued. Stoic independence is about creating the best version of yourself without needing constant validation from others. You don't have to check your phone every 5 minutes to see if the other person has texted back. You don't have to worry that if they don't compliment you right away, that means they don't care anymore. Instead, you confidently live your life, find your own joy, achieve your own success, and others will be drawn to that stability and steadiness. And don't mistake this to mean that you should disappear completely. It doesn't. Stoicism is not about disconnecting from people. It just means that you don't have to constantly be there. You don't have to constantly assert your presence. You're still there, you still care, but you don't rely on others to feel valuable. And that makes you more attractive than ever. Ask yourself, do I want to be loved for who I really am, or because I'm trying to please everyone? Stoic independence will help you find the answer. When you know that your value doesn't come from others but from yourself, you'll find yourself shining brighter than ever. Others will notice, and trust me, they won't be able to resist. There you have it, Stoic independence. The secret to being a beacon of light in a sea of people, without having to shout, "Pay attention to me." You know, they say that the more you chase something, the more it wants to distance itself from you. And in relationships, that seems to be true. Think about it. Have you ever had someone stick to you all the time, making you feel comfortable? Probably not, right? So the first thing to remember is, don't chase. Instead, let your curiosity do its thing. Now imagine you're meeting someone new. You find them amazing, interesting, and you want to impress them right away. It's understandable that we want to be close to the person we like, but is texting them nonstop, asking them how they're doing, really a good strategy? Stop for a moment and think. Am I being too clingy? You may not realize it, but trying to please them all the time or always initiating conversations can actually make them more distant. It sounds counterintuitive, but when you stop clinging, something magical happens. They start to wonder, why isn't this person like everyone else? Why isn't he texting me all the time? What makes him different? And these questions slowly lead to curiosity, which turns into attraction. Creating distance and space is an art that needs to be practiced delicately, especially when the other person starts to become distant. Most people, when they see that the other person starts to ignore or reduce their attention, will immediately worry and panic. They increase their texting, calling, or even find ways to meet up. Have you ever been in this situation? And did it turn out as expected? Probably not, because that's when you're falling into the trap of clinging. Instead of panicking, do the opposite. That's right. Take a step back. Don't rush to try to get them back. Instead, focus on yourself. Give them space to think about you, to miss you on their own. Because when you stop chasing, you send a very powerful message. I am confident and independent enough to not need their constant attention. And you know what happens? They will start to wonder if they are missing something. This is the difference between distancing and ignoring. You don't completely disappear. You simply don't chase. You are still present, but with the confidence that you are not dependent on their approval. This independence is not only attractive, but also makes you someone they respect. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a party. Everyone around you is trying to get the attention of one person, but you don't. You don't feel the need to join this race. Instead, you are busy enjoying the party, talking to others, laughing and having fun. And then what happens? The person you are interested in starts to be curious about you. They start to wonder, why is she not like everyone else? What makes them so confident? It is this mystery and independence that makes you stand out. What about when they pull away? This is when many people will fall into insecurity, wondering what they did wrong. But don't let that feeling control you. It's okay for them to need space. Sometimes people need time to think, to reassess. And if you're patient, if you stand your ground, it says a lot about you. It shows that you're not easily swayed and that you're strong enough not to depend on them to feel happy. What can you do instead? Enjoy your life. Do what you love. Pursue your passions, spend time with friends, and build a life that you don't need anyone else to complete. Not only will this make you feel better, but it will also send a strong message. I don't need to chase anyone because I'm living my own life. And you know what? That's when other people will start to notice you. They will start to wonder, why don't I have more time with them? What are they doing that makes their lives so full of joy? And it's these questions that will draw them closer to you, not constant messages or calls. So remember this, don't chase. Create curiosity, mystery, and let your confidence and independence do the work of attracting. Because the person who is truly worth your attention will always be attracted to someone who is not clingy, but someone who shines from within. Don't play hide and seek, but don't follow like a shadow. It sounds confusing, right? But really, there's a big difference between disappearing completely and keeping a reasonable distance. It's like leaving a light on at night. If you leave it on all day and night without stopping, people will get used to it and gradually they won't notice it anymore. But if you leave the light off at the right time and then turn it on at the right time, you'll get people's attention. They'll see it and think, wow, it's so bright. Similarly, in a relationship, we don't have to disappear completely, but we also don't have to be too obvious, available 24/7. You can still be present, but in a natural and comfortable way, not like someone who is trying to prove themselves or chase someone else. Let your presence be valuable, not pressured. Have you ever met someone who is always there? Constantly texting, calling just to ask how you are doing, sending dozens of emojis when you don't reply right away? At first, it may feel nice to be cared for, but gradually it becomes suffocating. And in fact, being too available like that is not attractive. It just makes you always available, something no one really wants. So what's the secret? How can you be present without making them feel like you're like gum? It's simple. Be present. Present yourself subtly. You don't have to text constantly or be available at all times. Give yourself some breathing room. Don't worry, it won't make people forget you. On the contrary, it will make them start to miss you more. Because you're not someone they can easily get a hold of at any time. Let's say you just had a great date. Instead of texting them right after you get home and asking, "How did you have fun?" Give them some time. This doesn't mean you're ignoring them. It means you're creating space for them to remember the date, remember you, and want to continue the conversation. Let them seek you out. When you're not in a rush to reach out, it gives the impression that you're confident and don't need to rush to get their attention. Remember, presence isn't about being there all the time. It's about being there in a valuable, meaningful, and timely way. You can be involved in their lives, but that doesn't mean you have to be the center of everything. Be involved when necessary, but don't overdo it. At this point, you might be thinking, but if I don't text or call, will they forget about me? Don't let fear control you. What you really need is to project an image of a confident, independent person who has her own life and doesn't need attention from others to feel happy. When you don't chase, they will naturally be drawn to you. So, no need to disappear completely, but no need to be available all the time. Just like you turn on a light at the right time, let your presence be natural, attractive. Let people remember you, crave your presence, without you having to try too hard. Have you ever thought of yourself as a cup of coffee? Sounds strange, right? But wait, let me explain. Just like how a hot cup of coffee can wake you up in the morning, your confidence can be the thing that wakes up the attention of others. It's not simply a personality trait or an outburst of behavior, but a kind of energy, an energy that attracts others to you without having to try too hard. Let me ask you, do you remember the last time you met a confident person? The one who just walked into a room, seemingly doing nothing but making everyone take notice? Of course, it wasn't because they were showing off or trying to attract attention. On the contrary, it was natural confidence. They didn't need you or anyone else to confirm their worth, and that's what made them attractive. That's the power of confidence. When you're confident, you don't need validation from anyone to feel good about yourself. You define your own worth, and this makes others respect and appreciate you more. Think about it. Who would be attracted to someone who is constantly worried about whether others like them? No one. But someone who is confident, who knows their own worth, and doesn't depend on others for validation. That's the person we look up to, wonder about, and ultimately are attracted to. So how do you achieve this? Start by being emotionally stable. Did you know that emotional stability is an important part of confidence? A stable person is not easily shaken by the little things in life. Have you ever heard the saying, "Life's storms don't sink your ship, it's how you deal with them that determines whether you float or sink"? That's right. When you can face challenges without letting them control your emotions, you become incredibly attractive. Think about the people you feel safe around. Are they the ones who stay calm and composed even in difficult situations? They don't overreact or get angry over the smallest things. They are reliable, and that makes them attractive. When you can demonstrate emotional stability, not only will you be more confident, but people around you will feel more comfortable around you. Sometimes in relationships, it's easy to become emotionally dependent on other people. When they smile, we feel happy. When they pull away, we feel anxious. But when you are confident and emotionally stable, you don't need to chase those fluctuations. Your happiness doesn't depend on them, and that makes you stronger in a relationship. Think about it. Who would someone rather be with? Someone who is stable and confident, or someone who is easily upset by the emotions around them? You have control over how you feel and react, and when you show it naturally, others will be attracted to you. Remember, confidence isn't something you flaunt. It's something quiet, deep, and persistent. And when you find that confidence, you'll find people naturally drawn to you because they know that you don't need them to feel good about yourself. So are you ready to be the cup of coffee that catches the eye? Keep your life busy and passionate. Have you ever seen someone so busy that you just want to ask, "Hey, where do you find time to breathe?" But then again, isn't it their busyness that intrigues you? There's something about people who live their lives to the fullest, who always have something to do, who are always going somewhere, and, you guessed it, you want to know more about them. That's the power of living a life of passion and meaning. And if you want to attract others to you, the first thing you need to do is keep yourself busy, but not meaninglessly busy, but busy with purpose. Now, I'm not saying you need to cram your schedule so full that you don't have time to eat lunch or catch your breath. No, being busy means pursuing your passions, hobbies that you love, and goals that excite you every day. When being busy with things that really matter to you not only makes you feel more confident, but it also creates an energy that is attractive, and that makes other people want to be a part of your life. Think about it. Which type of person would you rather be attracted to? Someone who sits at home, scrolls through social media, and waits for your text? Or someone who is busy with creative projects, hanging out with friends, and always ready for new adventures? I bet you would choose the latter. And the reason is simple. We are attracted to people who are living full, interesting lives, because they give off the impression that they don't need anyone else to complete them. They're already living their lives well. And guess what? That makes us want to be a part of their lives more. But here's the important point. You need to make sure that your busyness isn't meaningless. Don't be busy just because you don't want to deal with your feelings or because you want to forget about others. Be busy with things that make you happy, that make you grow and that add meaning to your life. Is there something you've never been passionate about? Go for it. Is there a new hobby you've been putting off? Now is the time to start. When you focus on building a life that's rich and joyful, you'll stop worrying about whether other people will notice you. They'll naturally be drawn to you. Imagine yourself building a life that makes you excited to wake up every morning. You're taking a morning yoga class, meeting friends for coffee, or working on that personal project you've been dreaming about. And every time you meet someone, your story is always interesting, because you're truly living a full, colorful, and never-ending life. You don't have to try to get anyone's attention. They will notice you, because people are attracted to people who are living their lives to the fullest. Not only will you attract others, but you will also feel proud of the life you are creating. And when you value your own life, others will value you. So the next time you find yourself focusing too much on others, ask yourself, what did I do for myself today? Take the time to develop yourself. Pursue your passions and create a life you love. Not only will others notice the difference, but you will feel the change too. Instead of waiting for someone else to come along and fill your life, create your own joy. When you do, everything else will follow. Are you ready to get started? Okay, imagine this. You have a smartphone, and instead of being glued to it all the time, you decide to use it with, well, let's say, a little bit of strategy. Don't just send a bunch of messages. Don't make calls constantly just to extend the conversation. Instead, send a few interesting sentences, enough to make the other person want to continue the conversation, but don't be the one who always locks the screen. Feeling like a communication expert yet? Less but more. This is the key. This sounds like a familiar rule in today's busy world, right? But applying it to communication is a real game changer. Instead of texting constantly, updating constantly, you just need to focus on quality moments. It's not necessary to respond immediately when someone sends a message or calls, because sometimes keeping a little distance makes a big difference. Think about it. If you are always available, always there to answer every call or text, it can take away some of your value. It's not that you don't care, it's that you create a space for others to truly value your time. Instead of showing up all the time, everywhere, you show up at the right times, when you really have something worthwhile to say. The result? They look forward to your texts and calls, because they know that every time you show up, it will be a worthwhile conversation. Have you ever heard the saying, quality over quantity? This is extremely true in communication. A meaningful text, a short but thoughtful call, can create a much stronger connection than blabbering for hours without saying anything really important. You don't have to be available all the time. Sometimes, keeping yourself a little mysterious is what makes others find you more attractive. Imagine a conversation where you send a message that makes the other person think, remember you. Then, you leave a gap, a space for them to wonder, why didn't they text again? That wait will make them more curious, more eager to interact with you. This is the power of low but quality communication. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean you ignore every message or abandon others. You're still present, but you don't have to be available all the time. This not only helps you protect your precious time, but also creates value for each communication you do. Others will realize that when you engage in the conversation, you're actually spending time with them, and they will appreciate it more. That's the secret to making deep connections without being too clingy. Less is more. And it's a way to maintain your confidence while making others look forward to hearing from you. Remember, sometimes silence is golden, and it doesn't mean you don't care. On the contrary, it's the subtlety of your communication that makes the other person feel respected and valued. So next time you want to text someone, remember, you don't have to say too much. Just say enough to make an impression and leave a mark on them.